That sound you're hearing is the fluttering of my wings against the microphone. Welcome back to the Drive-In Asylum double feature, and we hope that you really enjoyed that baddie first feature, Chosen Survivor. See, I did it. I went and I made the baddie joke, Mike. I finally gave in.
What did we say? Warren Batty? William Peter Batty?
William Peter Batty.
Yeah.
I stopped there because I couldn't top that. You got the best one right away.
Well, that movie was interesting. It wasn't what I thought it. I mean, I don't know. Had no idea what it was going to be because I went into this blind. But it was. I liked it. I thought it was. What did I say? I said it was Phase 4 meets Kingdom of the Spiders meets Logan's Run, which, And I was wondering if there was any precedent of having bats feature in dystopian narratives, or if they just had futuristic sets and access to bats and decided to put them together to make this movie.
I don't know. I can't think of any other Bat Attack films before this one. So this was, at the beginning of the eco horror cycle. This almost, well, it came out in May of '74. So, Willard was before it, I guess, and Frogs. What else? What else was contemporary to that?
Well, I
Stanley.
think, when did Phase 4 come out?
Same year,
Yeah,
74.
there's something was in the water that year, because this is very Phase 4-ish.
Those movies come in bunches, don't they? Some movies.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was sort of like a couple of years later, it would have been set. It wouldn't have had the futuristic trappings, and it would have just had a bunch of scientists or whatever, or like greedy developers trying to open a hotel, and the bats would be attacking everyone. And it would be like that sort of thing. Like I think Jaws sort of created the template of the monster sort of making, like, the anti-establishment. Like, the establishment wants to keep the monster under wraps because they want people to come to the 4th of July party, and like the people are like, hey, we're gonna die, the shark's gonna kill us, and they're like, shut up, like, it's bad for the economy. But then this was like this sort of before, like, pre-Jaws, when and they were still doing like future, like they were trying to work this into like some sort of like dystopian thing about how, well, you were saying like how relative it is to today.
It was scary.
Yeah.
The whole, this woman's voice, this woman's impassionate, echoing voice. And what the hell did they do on the reverb anyway? Were we supposed to believe that it was echoing all over those metallic fabric covered walls?
I like how they had 3 views of the woman, and in none of them was she like addressing them directly. Like in the middle one, she's like, what was she like? She's looking over them, and then in this one, she's looking over here, and then she's looking over there, and she's like never actually looking at them when she talks to them.
She's reading the teleprompter.
Right.
That could have been what they meant. She didn't know what she was going to be saying. She was just saying it because maybe she wasn't going to be one of the chosen survivors.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, I think Roger Ebert brought this up. He said, in movies like Aliens, they will invariably set the timer to destroy something, and they'll be like, this is set to self-destruct in 20 minutes. And he goes, who do they get to record these things in the universe of this film? Like, they find people and they sit them down and say, okay, in case that we end up pushing this button to destroy the world, will you record the countdown? So the person just sits there and goes, 10 minutes, 9 minutes, like, yeah. And it's kind of like this. It's like, who was that woman who was like giving them instructions? Was she really like doing it live, or was she pre-taped, or was she just an actor that they found somewhere?
Thank you, Gene. And I'm glad everybody in the chat seems to have also liked the movie, because we were talking about this. This is not a movie that people talked about up until maybe like 10, 15 years ago. But in the later 70s, the 80s. You know why? Because I don't think this ever played on TV. I don't think
yeah. So what, like, do you have any stories about why it sort of fell off the map? Like, I mean, I would say, like, the thing was is that TV was a dumping ground for flop movies. So if the only problem with this movie was that it had underperformed at the box office, then you and I would have seen it on TV constantly when we were coming up, because that's all that we saw on TV were flop movies that had flopped and didn't get better deals, distribution deals for TV.
Um, Possibly it may have played HBO. It could have played HBO. I think I remember seeing it promoted on HBO, like in an old guide before I ever had HBO. This would have been like 75 or 76. So,
I wonder if there isn't some other weird thing. It kind of was like I think I said it was like it kind of like you told me it was distributed by Columbia, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I was saying it was probably kind of like a Four Flies on Gray Velvet situation where Paramount would just put it out and then just forgot it existed after that.
Yeah, they just weren't particularly proud of it. I think the special effects are pretty darn good. Thank you. It's obviously a lot of it is green screened or whatever the term that you want to use, but chroma key, I believe, is the correct
Yeah.
term. But you know, the problem is bats move so fast; it's hard to capture them that way. Hitchcock had the same problem with the birds.
So Jackie Cooper, Nora wants to know why Jackie Cooper lived. Like, why didn't he die like Leslie Nielsen in Day of the Animals? I think because this movie is so nihilistic, they were just setting it up that, somebody like him, like maybe continuing to live was a worse punishment than dying. So
Yeah, he did have to face some uncomfortable truths about himself.
I was I was all set to identify with him because I was like, oh, this old guy is the only one who has any gumption. He's the only one who questions authority. And then he turns into like this drunk rapist. And I'm like, oh wait, no, never mind. I'll
Um,
just identify with Barbara Babcock instead or something.
they were so loose in that shelter, weren't they? I mean, aside from sexual assault, the possibility of sexual assault.
Well, also I
And
didn't get so at the beginning they were doing this thing where they were like breaking them down psychologically. So they were like, well, this is how this person's reacting to being in the bunker, and this is how this
yeah,
person's doing it, and this person has disconnected, and this person is just watching old movies. And then it's like, dun, 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 okay, day one in the bunker, get up, everyone, we're gonna onboard you. And I'm like, you just showed us what looked like a month of character, like showing how they would do the stuff, and then it was like, so basically in the 12 hours it took to like come down off of the whatever they had like give the shot that they had given them to bring them into the bunker, and they were like already deciding like how they were going to react to it.
that's assault, by the way. Experiment or no experiment. These people were literally kidnapped and taken into this shelter against their will or knowledge, injected with drugs, told this psychologically damaging story that everyone they knew and every place they knew now no longer existed. And furthermore, they were threatened by vampire bats. That's unacceptable.
I don't think they have any recourse. Like, I think
Yeah, one of the characters even says it. She implies that they're going to be murdered because they know about it and they might say something.
so now at the end of the movie, they were like, okay, now get ready for your second week. Okay, so are we to understand that like the second week will be even worse? Like the first week it was bats, and the second week they'll be battling like, I don't know, sharks or something.
It would have made a nice series if they hadn't gotten out of the shelter.
Yeah, it'd be one of those series now that everybody would say, "Oh, it was so good, but it was too expensive to produce," and now it's just a cult show,
Yeah.
like Space 1999 or something.
So I'm glad lots of people liked it. I have to say, this does not accurately represent vampire bats at all. I did a little bit of reading up on vampire bats. They're very fascinating creatures. They live in this colony and they form deep attachments with one another, with other members of the colony. They sort of like pair off, maybe not even pair off, but they have relationships. And they have these relationships when they're eating because they can't always find enough food for everybody in the colony. and they can only exist on blood. They don't eat insects. Like eating an insect isn't their nature. They have to find a sleeping victim, bite them, and lap at their blood while they stay asleep, so that they can take as much blood as they want. And if they can't feed all the members of the colony, they regurgitate in each other's mouths and share their blood that they've eaten.
Animals are so gross.
But that's dedication. That is a deep attachment with other members of your colony.
Would you have a vampire bat as a pet and like let it bite your finger and drink your blood?
Only if I was Marilyn Manson,
Right.
and I'm not.
Because I mean, well, the saliva they said has an anticoagulant. Does it also have like an antibacterial thing? Like it's probably not going to get infected, right?
Well, I did read that vampire bats are less likely to be rabid when they bite human beings, because the transmission rate of rabies from a vampire bat to human beings is very low, because when bats get rabies, they can't function. Like they don't fly around and search for victims while they have rabies. So they're less likely to do that anyway. They would have to infect you early on in their own infection, I guess.
Rabies is like quicksand and bats. Like I expected there to be a lot more rabies when I was an adult, and
Yeah.
I've never really encountered it.
I don't know. Like, we think we have it pretty much under control, but every once in a while you hear about it, that someone gets sick from rabies. Or like there's a rabid animal in your neighborhood and everybody's freaked out because they're afraid it's going to bite them.
Right, or they think something's rabid, like they'll see, anytime you see a possum or a raccoon or something, it's like, "It's probably rabid." It's
Yeah.
like, or
Bats are
it's just
less likely to carry rabies than
now
something like,
do they still, like, if you get bitten by a rabid animal, do they still have to give you, like, 10 shots in your stomach or something gross like
I
that?
don't think so. I think we've progressed.
Okay, then I'm fine with getting bitten now because before I was like remember in The Howling when they're giving him,
Poor
like, rabies
Bill.
shots and yeah. Poor Bill comes onto you like a bitch in heat.
I really like this movie a lot, and I'm glad that we got to watch it here on the program. It's another one of those things that's sort of been lurking there for a while. Something else cool I wanted to say about vampire bats. They're the only kind of bat in the film we actually see it happen. Those really were vampire bats in the film, by the way. They were accurately represented, at least visually, in the film. And the problem is a lot of those bats died because of being in this movie, being used as props in this movie. They weren't adequately cared for, and a lot of them died. But vampire bats are the only kind of bat that can walk. We see it happen in the movie a couple of times. There's that one part where the bat scuttles towards, it's Diana Muldaur. No, not her. The other lady that took the barbiturates.
Oh, the weird little, like, Kate Blanchett looking
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
You see one like crawling towards her. That's one of my favorite shots in the movie. They're the only bat that can really do that, because other bats can only drag themselves by their wings and their claws.
Oh, like fruit bats
Yeah,
and
they
bats
can't.
that eat mosquitoes and stuff.
Yeah, they kind of like hop when they're on the ground, but a vampire bat can walk.
Wow. Yeah, and it has that waddle like a penguin, like, when it's walking towards her. Yeah, bats are strange animals. They're like I said, they're like platypuses or something where you're just like, "What? How did these 2" because you don't associate weird wings like that. Like, are they the only mammals that can fly, bats?
Yeah, truly. I mean, there's flying squirrels, but they're
But they
not
just
truly
glide.
flying. They're just
Yeah,
coasting. Yeah, so
yeah, but bats are the only ones that yeah, that's so yeah.
they're the only ones that got there. In the evolutionary chain. Like they're the only mammals that managed to breach that flying barrier. Maybe one
Yeah,
day we will too.
I know, but the trade-off is we'd have to have hollow bones.
Yeah. A lot would have to change, Mike Justice.
Yeah. And the thing that would suck was that everyone else could fly too, so you'd basically just be living the same life you were living down on the ground walking around, but in the air. Like, I just wanna be the only one who could fly. Like, that would be the life.
Like the greatest American hero.
Right. Oh god, did you watch that show? I've never
No.
seen an episode. Yeah. It's I didn't like him when I was a kid. I don't like blonde people with curly hair. Like I draw the line.
You and I are so copacetic. It,
Yeah, I never got Tommy in Carrie, but whatever, to each her own. So
well, he was a 70s heartthrob. That was like, I guess you had to be a 70s chick to like that kind of guy. Maybe.
yeah. I don't know. I like the weird guy who was like, I think he was the boyfriend of Linda from Halloween. The
Bob.
one who was the one who killed the pig.
Oh, John
Or no,
Travolta.
no. No, the one who didn't want to kill the pig. Sorry. The one who was like, "No, I can't. I can't. No, no, I
Oh,
can't." Yeah, that would have been my boyfriend in that movie. The weird trucker
Billy
guy who
Nolan
looked
did
like
it.
Billy Nolan. Keep your tits on.
Billy Nolan.
Billy Nolan. I have this friend named Brian Nolan, and so we'd always like harass him. We'd be like, "What? Brian Nolan. What was that? Brian Nolan. Well, isn't he the lucky one?"
Speaking of Carrie, I hope you all have pre-ordered your UHD Blu-ray combo of Carrie from Scream Factory. It has lots of delicious new special features, including an ad gallery from Drive-In Asylum. So check it
I,
out.
I
And
saw that.
yeah, you can also get your Black Christmas, also a UHD upgrade, and a painstaking restoration of the original mono audio track. I guess there was some sort of problem with one of their previous transfers, and there was some dialogue missing. So they've gone through and they've fixed it. And there's a nice featurette about the making of it too. The
Remember
audio
when Black
track.
Christmas was like this thing that not a lot of people knew about?
Yeah. When was that?
I remember going to the video store in maybe 1987 and getting the Warner Brothers VHS and watching it and being like, this is the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. And nobody ever talks about this movie. This is amazing. Flash forward to now where it's like de rigueur that you would know what that is, you know?
It really was sort of its time in a way, because there was a time when that movie was a lot more shocking. I showed it to a bunch of people that I work with, maybe like, 8 years ago or so when I was working. We were all talking about Black Christmas. I'm like, you should come over to the house after we're done and watch it. And they did. And they were just bored with it. They were, I mean, they didn't say that, but nobody was afraid. No one was jumping. No one was screaming or even like freaked out by it. So the younger
Yeah, I mean,
audiences don't get it.
I think it's because the slasher movies of the 80s took things in Black Christmas that were exciting and like stretched them out. So whereas like Black Christmas had a final chase that lasted 7 minutes, like slasher movies would stretch it out to a half an hour, you know, and everything. And also it's Black Christmas looked like it was going to be a little drama or comedy about girls in a school. So I think you kind of had to catch you. You know, like if you like once the word got out that it was this amazing movie, then everybody was sitting down and they're like, okay, scare me. Go ahead, Black Christmas, come at me. You know, whereas before it was like you were just watching something with this drunk girl and this guy dressed up as Santa saying ho 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 fuck, and then all of a sudden there was like this weird pathological depraved person like talking to himself and following them around, and that was what was so scary. But you kind of have to go into it blind, I think.
I did. I remember the first time I saw it, and I didn't see it until I guess it was like the 90s, the mid 90s. I think I rented it, and it was snowy out, and it was great. I was really freaked out. I mean, it's a very quiet movie, and you have to be
Yeah.
open to that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very evocative too of like Christmas, just the way it's like really dark, like the crunching of the snow under their shoes and just
Hmm.
hearing like the dog barking in the distance and you know, and like I love that discordant piano score and you know, it's pretty I love it. I think it's really cool. It's very sort of dated, fellatio. It's a new exchange. FE.
We didn't talk about Bradford Dillman before we went into this being in this film. There were a couple actors we left out because we got to talking about Jackie Cooper, one of the Little Rascals.
Jackie Cooper stole the show. We're still talking about him.
But Bradford Dillman is in this. An actor I liked a lot. He was in Piranha, Bug, The Way We Were. That terrifying screamer, The Way We Were.
Starring the irrepressible Sally Kirkland as Barbra Streisand's friend, who's in it for like 2 minutes. And Barbara Babcock. Now, I feel like I've seen Barbara Babcock in literally everything from 1970 to 1990. But you say you don't really remember her and stuff?
I don't know her by name. I mean, everybody in that movie looks familiar to me just because it's a 70s movie.
Yeah,
Even
there
if
must
it's
have been.
not the people, they were
I think
someone that they remind me of.
I think there must be a handful of shows or movies or something that I've seen a million times with her in them. So to me, she seems like this kind of fixture. But yeah.
She was in a couple of things that I remember her from, but I just wasn't that familiar with her name, I guess. Sorry, Barbara.
She's just one of those people, kind of like Deborah Rush or something, where it's just like you go back and you're like, oh yeah, they were in this, that. Like, oh yeah, I remember her. Yeah.
So anything else we should say before we move on? Oh, Richard Jekyll. We did not address Richard Jekyll.
Richard Jekyll was in everything during that era. What was Richard Jekyll's like pre-B movie claim to fame? Was he like nominated for Best Supporting Actor for something at some point or something?
He was in The Dirty Dozen, or was it The Dirty Dozen? I know I messed that up. One of those big war movies he was in.
Okay. Yeah, because sometimes I forget that these people had, I get like, I've always known Barbara Boucher as being in, Red Queen Kills 7 Times and Don't Torture Duckling. And then I finally got around to watching Casino Royale. And I'm like, oh,
she was a Bond girl.
Yeah, I'm like, this makes total sense now. Like that everyone was, they didn't just, pull her out of the dirt and say, here's your B movie star. Like she had to have some claim to fame. So yeah, Richard Jekyll was,
it was The Dirty Dozen, by the way. I was right.
Was he nominated? Probably Golden Globe new star of the year or something at some point.
He won an Oscar for The Green Slime.
He did not.
He was in The Green Slime.
I always thought I hated the ad for The Green Slime because it said the Green Slime are coming. And I mean, I know that there's more than, but it just didn't sit right with me. I'm like, okay, I know there's more than one. Shouldn't they be the Green Slimes? I don't know.
It wasn't proper grammar. He was also in Mako, Jaws of Death. Remember, I showed an ad. It was a double feature of Mako and Chosen Survivor. So you would have gotten a Richard Jekyll double that night.
I saw Mako when I was a kid, and I was so upset, and I felt so sorry for him when they killed his sharks, or he walks into this room and all his sharks are like on the table, like that they killed him. So when he dumps the sharks in the aquarium where that like lady's swimming and the
Jennifer
sharks attacking her, yeah, I was like, yeah, get her.
She was mean. She said mean things to him. I didn't like her. She was nice to him first, I felt that because she acted like she was all nice to him and thought he was all mystical with these sharks and everything. And then all of a sudden she turns on him and she's like, what are you, sick? You are a sickie.
Yeah. And it's like, bitch, you swim around in a fucking aquarium for a living. Like you live in a glass house. Like, let's not throw rocks. But yeah, I don't know. I also got sad, and I think it was in either it was in Willard when he kills the rat, the mean boss. I think it's Ernest Borgnine or something kills the rat. Like, you don't come between a man and his animal. Like, even if it's a disgusting animal, like a shark or a mouse or whatever, like there's a bond there.
Absolutely.
Alex Cord, hot piece of snatch. Well, I'm not gonna
Was
tell
he?
you guys I'm not gonna tell you guys how what I called him because it's offensive, but I don't think he's a
Oh,
piece of snitch. But
oh, Darren said that in the chat.
yeah, I he looked like John Holmes dying of cancer or something to me, like, it's
Thank you. I felt rude for saying that in the first segment.
well, I said something worse to you when nobody was listening. So,
Oh, you did?
yeah, I called him AIDSy John Holmes.
That is problematic.
Yeah, J. Cole was on every 70s TV show, and he was in Born Innocent. He was in Born Innocent playing Linda Blair's abusive father, and then he was in Blood Song playing Donna Wilkes's abusive father.
Once
He's
you get
basically the same
typecast,
guy. Yeah. Yeah, Commander USA did a whole show about Richard Jekyll once where he was supposed to be underneath this shopping mall in New Jersey, and he went upstairs and was asking people in the mall if they had ever heard of Richard Jekyll, and they're all like, "No, I don't know who that is. I'm sorry. I don't know who you are either." It was when he was showing Mako Jaws of Death on his show.
so
Ooh,
Sam's not on the show tonight, and he left 2 drinks on his BNS About Movies website. And I shared the second one, and I forgot to do it in the first segment. Sorry, Sam. But here it is. If you feel like making an It Drinks by Night, you need 1.5 ounce rum, 1 ounce Kahlua, 1 ounce milk, 3 ounces cola. Add all ingredients to a glass filled with ice. Cola last. Stir and fly away to join your people. So that's easy if you have
Sam
those ingredients.
Sam loves rum.
He does. I never bought rum until he started making these drinks.
Yeah. I couldn't drink this drink because I'm allergic to dairy, but I might be able to get away with putting in some kind of milk substitute or something
You
like
could
Mocha
fix it.
Mix. I
Yeah.
could put Mocha Mix in there. Do you
I'm
remember Mocha Mix?
No, what was that?
Mocha Mix was like long before people had started drinking rice milk and coconut milk and stuff like that. Back in the 70s, they had developed this this fake milk that you could use for coffee creamer. I guess if you had cholesterol problems or something or lactose intolerant, it was called Mocha Mix, and I think it was who was it? Steve Allen and his wife did the ads for it, and they'd be like sitting on this beautiful like back deck with like this glorious like crater lake or something in the background. And he'd be like, "Look at the beautiful trees, look at the air, the birds, the lake," and she'd go, "And Mocha Mix," and she'd hold up the Mocha Mix, and it wasn't mocha flavored or anything. It was just fake milk and a milk in made of soybeans or something. They called it Mocha Mix for some reason.
Steve, I had 3 different types of rum too, and a whole bunch of other stuff I never touched. And then our son got to it. Now it's all gone. So apparently, no matter what it is, he'll drink it. Well,
Yes, Sam got everyone to get rum. I got Kraken, which I never thought I would have in my house, and it's like just waiting for him to come up with more drink recipes with Kraken in them.
I like it now. When we did Haunts, he did a drink that was Coke, Kraken, and butterscotch schnapps or something like that, and I really liked it. I make it all the time now.
Do you do mulled wine at Christmas?
I have. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't. I've only had it when other people prepared it because I'm
Mhm.
not sure how to prepare it.
I do it like the white trash way. I just throw a bunch of wine in a crock pot with some orange slices and some cinnamon sticks and just turn it on for a little while and then just come and start ladling it into my mouth.
Did
Oh
you ever
yeah,
do a Did you ever do a wine bong?
no.
Oh,
No.
it's pretty awesome. Put wine in the bong instead of water, and then it tastes like
Oh,
it tastes
yeah,
like
but
wine.
we didn't do wine though. I think I remember they would do like liqueurs or something. Like I
Yeah.
remember in college, my roommate was always like infusing the water in the bong with like I put in some, cognac or something like that. And then the the snotty roommate in the ice storm did the same thing, and I was like, oh, I guess it's this is something everybody's doing now.
Nora knows.
Wine bongs rock.
Ed knows too. You guys are cool. You guys are the cool kids.
Nora did a limoncello bong.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
That's insane. That's so funny.
What's Bill's
Midori
favorite? Oh,
bong.
Midori. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is my. I've sort of went neurotic about Midori because we couldn't get it in Pittsburgh for about 4 months.
Oh, that's right.
It was just like the supply chain bullshit. I mean, most stuff was there. It was bizarre. Like almost everything you would want was back in stock except one thing, and that one thing would rotate as to what it was. And for 3 months, it was Midori. So when we finally got it back, and I bought like 4 of them.
We're having like supply chain issues right now in Portland with sriracha, that kind of that Thai hot sauce, and the town is starting to crack. Like it's like the people on Maple Street, the Twilight Zone, like we're all going to start killing each other because we can't have like a hot sauce to put on our like pseudo Asian dishes or whatever.
So you may have noticed that the second drink was titled It Drinks by Night, which is a reference to our second feature of the evening, which is one of my favorite films. I've talked about it over and over again on this program, and finally we're going to get to do it. The Bat People, aka It Lives by Night. That's all. I mean,
I thought you were about to show the ads.
I am.
Okay.
I am. Here they come. Okay, so there we go. Let me get rid of that distracting background. The original title of this film was It Lives by Night. And most of my favorite movies were made in 1973. Don't Look in the Basement, Horror High, stuff like Don't Look Now is from 73. So many fabulous films. The Bat People missed 1973 by 3 weeks because it came out in mid-January 1974. And this was the original title that they released it under, with this stunning ad campaign. I mean, there's so many ad variations for this. It's really beautiful. This is unlike any horror film you've ever seen. Well, way to oversell the Bat People, marketing people, because it's definitely they're not kidding about unusual, but it's not terrifying in any way, shape, or form. It's more of a romantic tragedy that turns into, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a brief twist at the very end that turns it into sort of a happy ending. Look at this. That really is the makeup from the film for the Bat guy, but the other half is a skull, like as if half of his face dissolved.
Yeah, they're fibbing like they did in the ads for Creepers, where they tried to make it look like the bugs were eating half of Jennifer Connelly's face off.
Yeah. What if that happened in Creepers? At the end of Creepers, they turned on her.
Or that monkey ate her face, because monkeys are always eating faces.
Look at this. Speaking of Don't Look in the Basement.
Oh, speaking of Bill's favorite triple feature ever. Wait, do you like Dr. Phibes?
Love it.
Okay.
I love both the Dr. Phibes movies. And it agonizes me, the Dr. Phibes movies that we never got, starring Vincent Price.
Night of the Bloody Ape.
Yeah. Way to oversell it, marketing people.
And they put cats growling on the trailer, so they'll be like, the apes are after everyone, and they put this jaguar going. Rah, 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 rah.
I think this is a beautiful ad campaign. I really do.
So who is this Marianne McAndrew, and why wasn't it Mariana Hill in this movie?
Well, Mariana probably was busy doing something else.
Oh, this is an AIP movie. I've
It
never heard
is.
of this. I've never heard of It Lives by Night.
Well, it only ran by this title for 3 months.
Hmm.
It played in January, February, and March of 1974. And then eventually they must have decided that It Lives by Night was the wrong way to market their movie. So, by the way, this It Lives by Night is the title that was used when this movie was on MST3K. Enough said. Then it became the Bat People in March of 1974. And that, talk about movie posters that don't deliver what is actually in the film. It's this, okay? Because spoiler alert, you're never going to get a cave full of bat people.
If there's no dark, moldering bowels in this film, I want my money back.
Sorry, my camera blanked out there for a minute.
We can't see you. We're only looking at the ads.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. No one wants to see me. And sisters and frogs in this film, I could just faint.
When was the shock recovery period in Sisters?
It was at the end. It was like, when they came in to clean up all the popcorn boxes,
Right.
they allowed you to sit there. This is a gorgeous one too. Is this every?
Go ahead.
No, you.
I was just gonna say, like, AIP would do this. Like, they put out Lizard in a Woman's Skin as Lizard in a Woman's Skin for like 3 months, and it didn't do anything. So then they just put it out with bats all over the poster and called it Schizoid. And with this one, like, they tried for like a highfalutin ad campaign, nobody bought it, so they're like, "Fine, it's the Bat People. Happy? Here's a ticket."
Which is actually a more accurate title anyway, The Bat People. It actually makes a reference to the end of the film, the title. And I'll explain it when we come back for the third feature, or third segment.
Night of the Blood Monster was that Jess Franco Judge movie, right?
The Bloody Judge.
Like, yeah, it was kind of like a PG-rated Mark of the Devil or something.
That's a great way to describe it, yeah.
Hmm.
With Christopher Lee. Bow down.
And it's one of those movies where he's like, "Oh, I didn't know what I was making."
Yes, we know Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee is constantly, he's like this like little like he's victim. He's like, "I turned my back and they put me in Microwave Massacre," or whatever, or Meat Cleaver Massacre.
Yeah. All right, Christopher Lee. Did you fire your agent after that?
Yeah, he didn't know that he was in Eugenie and her journey into perversion, because they only called it Eugenie and like left out the part about her journey into perversion or whatever.
You could win free tickets to see it. This is a holdover from the It Lives by Night campaign. I put it in the wrong gallery. But you could get tickets to see this movie and a steak dinner. I mean, sign me up.
What city is that?
I don't know.
Where is it? Oh, there it is. CBS.
I passed it. Yeah, see, this is from February of 1975, which is when the Bat People premiered on TV on the CBS late movie.
Are there any like YouTube promos of, I've become fascinated recently with promos for when things show on TV. I like the way that they would cut the TV trailers, like CBS.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't find one for the Bat People. But on that mixtape video I sent you,
the 11-hour.
Yes. Probably at about hour 9, I put Beyond the Door when it was on the CBS late movie, and the bumpers were on YouTube. So I cut them all back into the movie.
Oh my God.
So you can watch it and pretend you're watching Beyond the Door on the CBS late movie, complete with Halloween commercials.
Oh my God.
After the sun has set and the night wind has died comes the hour of the Bat People. Well, they were accurate about that too, because at midnight it's really quiet. This is a funereal movie if there ever was one.
It's looks batty. Wait, come up with another bat joke.
I had one. God damn it. Why'd you have to ask me that? Because I was thinking of something earlier and it slipped my mind. Another one of those William Peter Batty people.
Warren Batty. So your video, I haven't. So it's gonna. I think I'm gonna miss Halloween this year because I haven't been able to find a drive that'll hold that thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's difficult. Uh, I had to buy these flash drives and reformat them. You have to reformat them a special way in order to put that drive that
Oh,
on.
yeah, I know because they're like yeah. So
It's like, huh? That's too big.
yeah, it's because they have these weird. Yeah. So
The partitioning in the on the drive.
yeah, but I mean, I love stuff like that. Like the I told you a couple of weeks ago when I had a power outage on Saturday, and the only thing I had was my laptop with the full battery, and I there was no power or anything in the house, and the only thing I could really find on my hard drive to watch was a TV screening of The Midnight Hour that was downloaded. So I just sat there and watched it, and I was like sitting in my apartment with no
That's good
lights
stuff.
on. Yeah, like I think my phone was out of juice at that point too. And so I was just sitting here watching the midnight hour, and then every like 15, 20 minutes would pop up commercials for, Germac and like other 80s products. And I'm just like, oh God, like if you would have told me when I was like 10 years old that in 2022 I'd still be watching this same movie, like
Yeah, isn't it crazy how these things seem so fleeting in the 70s and 80s before VHS when you could record anything off TV. Once something was on TV, like if you missed it, it was gone and you didn't see it until they may have run it next year, but you never saw it quite the same way, like with all the promos and the bumpers and everything on TV. That experience was gone forever once it
yeah.
flitted past your eyes like a bat.
Yeah, yeah, I remember when they would first premiere things, like, I remember being a kid, and I remember when they first showed Kingdom of the Spiders on like, it was like the ABC late movie in 1981 or something, and at that point, the movie, it was only, like, 5 years old. I remember thinking, like or watching, like, the premiere of The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane on network TV and stuff like that, and,
Ooh.
and those were the days, they would actually have, like, product tie-ins. They'd be like, "The Little Girl Lives Down the Lane is brought to you by Cadbury. If you're going to kill everyone in your life and bury them in the basement, make sure you buy Cadbury."
This
Later
movie
on, they
about a child sexual predator was brought to you by a candy bar.
right. Did you know that Martin Sheen originally wanted to play Mario the Magician? And they're just like, "Oh, buddy, no, I'm sorry." Like
You're
you
not
might be
that
able to play
good.
it. Well, I mean, if they were doing like a Grease thing and Rin was also being played by a 30-year-old pretending to be a kid, it would have worked, but there's no way in hell you could put him together with some 12-year-old and like make it not disgusting.
The creep was the only possible role he could have played.
Yeah, and he was so good at it too.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see this movie? Okay, do you remember in the 90s when they started coming out, like it was always women in jeopardy, but they were always somehow like sensory impaired? Like it was like Jennifer Eight, she was blind, Blink with Madeline Stowe, she was blind. And they did one with Marley Matlin called Hear No Evil, where she was deaf.
I
And
know.
Martin Sheen was the villain. He was like stalking her and
I know they did it, but I never saw it.
it wasn't very good. It wasn't as good as like it wasn't nearly very stylish. It wasn't like both Blink and Jennifer Eight and stuff were very kind of stylish dark thrillers, and Hear No Evil was kind of like a it would have been really great in the 70s as a TV movie. It was very sort of Hotline with Linda Carter-esque, but it didn't feel very 90s. I mean it was good enough, but it wasn't it was no Hotline. I mean, I'm giving it way too much credit, but
Okay. It wasn't as good as Hotline.
no, Hotline is a classic. Did you ever see it came out right around the same time as Hotline, Jane Doe with Karen Valentine?
Yes, I
And
remember watching it when it was first on TV.
Me too. So she's at the beginning of the movie, she's buried alive in the woods, and the little boy and his dog find her, and her hand comes out of the grave.
Yeah, it's which they stole from the Screaming Woman.
hmm And I
Did
remember
you
I
ever
was
see that movie?
I had not at that point, no.
Oh, I hadn't
So
seen it either. I didn't
yeah,
know.
so I thought it was a. I remember I was being babysat. My mom and my aunts had all gone out somewhere, and they left me with this guy Dennis, their like gay friend, and he's like, "Okay, Michael, don't tell anybody, but we're gonna stay up and watch Jane Doe starring the irrepressible Karen Valentine." And I'm like, "Ah, this movie's gonna suck." And then I see the hand coming out of the ground. I'm like, "Oh my god, this is great."
See, those are the friends that you need to have when you're young.
Oh no, he was like, he the next time he babysat me, he's like, "Okay, Michael, we're gonna watch The Devils starring Oliver Reed."
That is the limit.
No. And I was like, why is I was asking him questions about like medieval history. I was like, why is the king so weird? Why is everybody being so mean? He's like, well, Michael, the thing you have to understand is most people in this era were idiots. I was like, okay. What's I've been waiting for you?
Vince always comes up with the obscure stuff. Sometimes I know it, but this one I don't. Come here, Vivi.
You know what genre I'm really dumb about? Who's
Vivi's here, but she's camera shy tonight.
Oh, okay. So in the late 90s, early 2000s, all the straight to video movies that came out during that time. Like I would go to Hollywood Video and I would see the shelves filled with, videos with like people with like the villain would have like a bag on his head with like stitches on it, and it would be called like The Return of Baghead, and it was like a straight to video movie. And I finally understood why people, whenever I would try to talk to people older than me about grindhouse movies, like people who were alive in the 70s. I'm like, what do you mean you didn't go out and watch Andy Milligan movies? And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I have never seen anything like this. And then I feel the same way now, because there's now this sort of nostalgia for like, straight to video movies from the late 90s, early 2000s. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. At that point, I was busy watching Dario Argento stuff. Like I never watched this. Like I'm completely blind to that whole genre.
It's interesting that you brought that up about TV movies because The Bad People could very well be a TV movie. It feels very much like a made for TV film, even though there is eventually some bloodletting in it. It's not too over the top, but there's like, a couple cutthroats with a lot of blood. And there's a really gross scene at the end that I won't spoil in case nobody has seen it. By the way, mention in the chat if this is going to be the first time you're watching The Bat People with us. I'm going to post the link to watch the movie in the chat.
Was it produced by AIP?
It was written and produced by Lou Shaw, who wrote a lot of TV. He was the writer for Quincy and McCloud, Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew Mysteries. He did a couple of those, produced and wrote a lot of that stuff. And he also wrote the 1973 Crypt of the Living Dead, aka Hannah, Queen of the Vampires. That was
Because the Bat People kind of gave me like Larry Buchanan vibes when I first watched the trailer.
Oh no, it's not that low budget. I mean, it is low budget, but it's not Larry Buchanan level.
Yeah, like they were saying like he made these movies for TV and stuff, and then I was looking at them and I'm like, they're like The Creeping Terror. I'm like, they must have been really, or like it has the same production values as Creeping Terror or The Curse of Bigfoot. I'm like, it must have been really easy to get on TV back in those days.
Another thing I should mention is that the special effects in the Bat People are done by Stan Winston. Believe it or not.
I believe it.
The character, big spoiler alert, one of the characters in the movie turns into a man bat who looks very similar to someone that you might have seen this evening. So at some point he turns into a man bat, and the makeup effects are actually really good. The full makeup looks a little hokey because you saw it in the trailer too. It's a little silly looking, as most werewolf type transformations tend to be, but the close-ups of this guy are really creepy. The makeup looks better the closer you get to it, which is kind of unusual in a horror film. And that's Stan Winston. He really did a great job, as
Does
usual.
Stan Winston do you tonight?
The ghost of Stan Winston guided
Yeah.
my hand.
Whoops. R.I.P.
I was looking in the mirror and I said, Stan Winston, Stan Winston, Stan Winston, Stan Winston, Stan Winston. And poof, there he was. He
So
was like, "You suck at putting on makeup. Let me do it."
my first idea was that I was going to be Commander USA for Halloween, and then I couldn't get my shit together to get a costume, and then I thought I could be John Huston in Tentacles for Halloween, and then I couldn't even find anything to spray on my beard to make it white. So it's just like, because I went to the Halloween store like an asshole at the last minute, and like I said, they were having supply chain problems. Like they had like a hockey mask, a Freddy sweater, a slutty nurse costume, and like some like a wig from Hocus Pocus or something was all that was left. And I was like, I would, if I was feeling way more, if I wasn't just being on camera, if I was actually going to a party, I would have taken all of those and put them together into one big costume. But
So there's a link to the film, so you can watch along with us. If anyone's having any trouble getting the link, let me know. Maybe I can send you the link in a private message.
oh wait, we have to watch this
Secret
on
message.
Google Drive.
Yes, Mike Justice. We went over this.
Okay, fine.
Anyway, yes, you have to go get it from that link. You're not going to find it anywhere else unless
I
you
know.
own it.
I like to watch stuff on TV.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can't you connect your Google Drive to your TV? We've come that far.
I can put it onto a flash drive and plug it into my TV, but then I won't be synced up with everybody. But whatever. There's a little button in the corner that says "Host my own stream." Come on, everybody.
I wonder if anyone's ever done that. I don't know if I would know if you did that.
Wait, like they just stole your like
My Be Live subscription.
Right, I'm gonna start a new show. It's called The Drive Out Asylum. Come on, everyone.
You can only be on as long as we are. And I think it would disconnect you. I hope it would.
Right.
Maybe not.
All right, let's watch the second movie now.
Oh, okay. Is it time?
Well, you put the thing in the chat.
I want to give people time to copy it and let me know if they got it.
Well, actually, I want to do that too. Talk amongst yourselves for a second.
So anyway, there's this movie called The Bat People, and it was on MST3K. So everyone thinks it's a shitty movie. And it's actually rated so low on IMDb. It's like a 2.8 or something like that. Let's see. I have the page right up. It's not like I'm not sitting here looking at the damn thing. 2.7. I was close on the IMDb. And what do they know? I think a lot of people who are fans of that show just went there and voted all these movies down just because someone told them they were shitty movies.
I kind of hate MSK whatever sometimes, because sometimes I'm really grateful to them to bring fun movies to the forefront that we can make fun of together. And other times, like, so many people, because of the association with that, like, they'll be
Mike Justice went away.
no.
Oh, there you are. So many people, because of the association with MST3K.
Yeah, just that they think the movie's awful, and they, like, these jabronis will just use it as shorthand without knowing anything about the genre, anything. They'll just be like, "Oh yeah, like what a terrible movie that fucking Incredible Melting Man is," and I'm like, "Well, it is, but like you can dive a little deeper than that, So
It's valid, I guess. I mean, like, a lot of people would say that this is a shitty movie, and if you are one of those people, so be it. But I appreciate this movie in a different way, I guess, than it may have even been intended. Because don't look at this as a horror film per se. This movie is a love triangle, and it's a very strange love triangle, bizarre love triangle, if you will. And between Marianne McAndrews, Stuart Ross, who plays the uh, protagonist of this film, they're a married couple, and they're on their honeymoon slash business trip where he's studying bats in this area, the desert, and something terrible happens. He's bitten by a bat, and madness ensues. So, but into their relationship comes Michael Pataki, skeezy small town sheriff stud, looking to put the make on Marianne McAndrew while her husband is all effed up in the hospital with bat disease. That's what this movie is.
Tracy Palma says the Bat People is on Prime. I might just see y'all on Prime for
Yeah, there you go.
$12.99 a month.
But is it free? I'm on Prime too, and every time I think of something I want to watch, I got to pay for it on top of my Prime subscription.
And Prime is BS anyway. Like they tell you, like if you subscribe to it, that you're going to get things shipped to you fast. And like every time I order something, they're like, "Oh, you know what? It's actually going to take 3 weeks. Sorry."
Yeah. So, that was my flash drive. That video I was talking about earlier. I was going to put it on flash drives and send it to people.
And it didn't they didn't deliver it in time.
No, they didn't deliver it in time for one thing, and they didn't send me as many flash drives as I paid for. And trying to get them to understand that I just want them to send me the missing balance of flash drives, it's impossible. So I'm just going to have to, I know I'm going to end up eating it because they're going to want me to send those drives back, and I already used them. So forget it. Lesson learned.
Yeah, I just had really good luck with Amazon. I ordered one of those beds in a box. But unfortunately, they tell you to wait 72 hours before you sleep on it. And I thought that they meant wait 72 hours because it's not going to be comfy enough or whatever. But they really meant wait 72 hours because for the first 72 hours, it's off-gassing toxic like fumes from the synthetic materials in it. So I slept on it and I got this burly nasal infection that like lasted a week. I thought I had COVID or something, and it's like, no, it's from my mattress.
Ew.
I know. Wait, what happened? Tracy said it was on there, but now she's saying it's not. Damn it.
No, she got it.
Oh, okay. Okay, because I'm going to watch it on Prime.
Well, she said, forget I fucking said anything. So I think she answered her own question. Okay. I'm not sure.
I thought maybe that
Hi,
was
Tracy, by the way. Tracy, you were watching on YouTube a minute ago. So thank you for clicking on that. Most everyone watches it on Facebook, and that's cool. A lot of our YouTube viewers are not there. Matt's not there. Kill that Matt. A couple people who watch on YouTube I haven't seen. So hope you folks are okay out there.
What happened to Mode Mixologist?
Oh, they had a baby. Ugh. He doesn't have time to stay up and watch movies.
Never mind. God.
It's going to be that way for a couple of years. We'll see him in a couple of years when she starts going to bed early. All right. So I'm assuming that everyone who wants to watch Bad People with us got the link and was able to find it. And we'll hope you'll come back afterwards to talk some more about it. Oh, wait, what did I do? I had the wrong video up. This show is going downhill fast.
You are a mess.
I pulled up the end credits. We're not signing off. Okay, here we go. This is the right one. This is why I need a crew. Oh, there's Dustin. I'm glad we didn't cut away. Here's Dustin. Happy Halloween to you also, Ghoulie. Dustin and his family are at Disney Halloween. Or at least they were. I don't think they're home yet.
Who is it that's in the chat right now that's at a wedding or something and they're peeking in like in between toasts or something somebody said earlier?
Who are you? Speak up.
I think that was oh, it was the first segment. I can't remember who.
Okay.
Sorry. The chat text is really small and my eyes are getting worse and worse as the days go by. Oh, it was Frank. There he is.
Okay.
Frank, I just shared the link again. So there it is. It should be right there with our comments just now.
Hello
Hi,
from
John
Kansas.
Kreider. Thanks for checking in. And once Frank chimes in and lets me know if he got the link, we can start the flick. Okay, so Dustin is at Fort Wilderness Playground. Oh, Dustin was giving away booze. He had little bottles of booze he was handing out for Halloween. That's the way I want to go trick-or-treating. He was at Satan's Black Wedding. Yes, I think so. All right, so here is the actual countdown video ready to go. And come back afterwards. We'll have some more to talk about the Bat People, and I can finally talk about all the spoiler-ish stuff that I love. It's not much, so, don't get all excited or anything.